Hi everyone. Welcome to our year ender episode for the calendar year 2025. Today we have Mr. Mandar Thakur as our guest. Mr. Mandar Thakur is CEO of Mumbai based Times Music, one of India and South Asia's leading music entertainment companies, spanning a record label, music publishing, artist management, and music brand solutions. Times Music is a JV between Indian media conglomerate The Times Group and the US-based Primary Wave Music, a leading independent publisher of iconic and legendary music in the world. Times Music spans two sub-labels, Jungly Music, which releases film music OSTs including Bollywood, Tamil, Telugu, Punjabi, other languages, and the next generation independent music platform FFS. Mandar himself is a stalwart of the industry. He began his career in Hong Kong with the entertainment company group, working for the Asian concert promotion business in the early 90s. Post which, he helped set up the path-breaking News Corp-owned music TV station Channel V in India, and subsequently created a digital music landscape in Asia as a part of the founding team at Soundbuzz. Then, Asia and India's largest digital music distribution company, which got acquired by Motorola in early 2008. Mandar also chairs the board of PPL India, is on the board of IPRS, PDL, and Industry Association IMI. In March 2025, Mandar was the recipient of the very prestigious International Music Person of the Year award presented by Music Expo and the city of Burbank, Los Angeles, widely known as the media capital of the world. So, without wasting much of the time, let's get into the discussion with Mandar and see what he has to share with us, his views, his thoughts, his opinions, and his future forward vision, not just for Times Music, but also possibly for the music industry of India. So here we go. How are you? How are you, Mandar? How are you doing? How are things?
All good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too after a long time. Without taking much of your time, I would just like to give you a quick intro about this chat. We just wanted to quickly get your views on 2025. How does 2026 look like? What are the changes that you see in the market? Times music specific, beyond Times music in the industry, etc., etc. So, in that context, I think the best way to start for me is to understand from you how was 2025 year for you as Times music?
It would be remiss if I say 2025, and we are yet to, by the Indian financial year, finish 2025. We have a whole quarter left. The financial year finishes in March 2026, FY20. So, like I said, we're 3 months short. But it would be remiss of me if I was to say, for the recorded music industry and music publishing industries, that this was a fantastic year. It simply was not a fantastic year. Anybody who says it was is either lying or bullshitting. Um, was it a horrible year? No, it certainly wasn't a horrible year. Was it a better year than last year? Most certainly, it was a better year than last year. And for Times Music, that same trajectory is what is reflected, right? That we had a FY24 was when most of the Indian music industry basically that grew at a blistering pace of 20% CAGR growth year on year for the last 7 or 8 years, basically grew only at 2% CAGR in FY24. And FY25, we hope that and like I said, the numbers are yet to come because we are yet to finish our financial year. So another 3 months off. And that holds true for all the Indian record labels, and for the international record labels, the year is obviously finished end of December. So only post March, post April will we actually know what has been CAGR growth. But it certainly has been better than FY24. That much I can tell you. But the thing to consider is this was the year where you saw both highs and lows, right? Everyone keeps claiming on this term, artists and artists first, and you have everybody from their pajamas who are like 19, 20 years old who've used the term, who claim to invent the term, and then there are Olders who also claim. Fact of the matter is, everything in life is always artist first, right? And we used that term in 2016. So, from then to now, it's been close to a decade is when I feel this year is the actual pivotal year. So the whole industry and everyone making contributions towards creating a artist economy, what everybody has worked for, the artists themselves, the managers, the record labels who poured, a lot of money into this, to the audiences who are consuming artists. I think this year is the actual switch here because three things you must remember. One, that the flopping of Bollywood is absolutely complete, right? It can't sink any lower than this. Every filmmaker worth his salt has flopped and failed. You had movies that had come that have done significantly well at the box office but tanked in music sales. And that to me is a great sign that music is increasingly disassociated from films. Does that mean suddenly we're going to have lots of pop stars? No, that's not what I'm saying. I just feel that our dependency on film as a music industry is waning slowly and slowly. And this is a pivotal year to that because the only two or three songs that have really worked. One is, and all of these have been outliers, mind you. If you take a Sayara or you take a Durandar, these are all this is not standardization, right?
Right.
Sayara was a clever tactic. You cannot repeat that. And the music was nothing close to what kids today are listening. It was so classic, so dated, yet it works. So it was a great opening, that great lyrics, great music works, clever marketing still works. Number two was that the film did well because the music took off. It revalidated the grand role of music in the success of a film. Very different from the OTT where there are songs that are so bad in a film. They're background songs, right? Different from Bollywood. So let's not call what happens on OTT necessarily Bollywood. Number three, if you look at Durandar, in my opinion, Durandar wasn't meant to succeed because it's so anti everything that a Bollywood musical is, yet it worked, right? So different forces at play in different ways. But what you have to realize is today you also have artists who are breaking out. One of our artists, Kuar, who's quite a I think Kuar is the really where the rubber meets the road today on a Canadian Indian artist of Punjabi origin. Kuar is now doing well over 150,000 streams a day, right?
Wow.
And if you look at stream counts of some of your best succeeding artists, you realize that they're between there and something else. So if you look at numbers, right, this is a track called Piche Tere by Kuar. And because of that, the ripple effect on his songs before has
Correct.
started picking up. I am sure every label has such an example. I'm sure every artist. This year we discovered Fahim Abdullah as an industry,
Industry.
right? So there was a different voice than Arijit. So this whole little saucer of voices that we have is finally expanding up, which is why I say that this is a very pivotal year for us. But the bear market that we're in, and I'm very strongly using that word, make no mistakes about it, the music industry is in a bear market. Our GDP is better than Japan's, but our music economy, unless we have, again, like I said, two to three things. One is a very strong subscription music ecosystem, and we should talk about that at some point. Unless we have a maturity in management of artists and the ability of record labels to stop doing crazy film deals, and invest into artists, and the ability of the business as a concept, right? To have scalable business models. It can't be you pay me what I feel like if I get up in the morning. It can't be this ripple effect of some film star charging so much money that the producer has to charge you money, then the director has to charge you money, then we have to charge a lot of money for it. So it's a vicious cycle. Till these three factors don't into play, I don't think the bear market will move. We are hoping in the next 3-4 years this shift begins, but the beginning is already picked up. That's 2025 for you.
Fair enough. It was quite comprehensive. And one of the things that I've also seen in 2025 is, I wouldn't say the emergence, but a refocusing on the regional markets. And when I say refocusing, I would say that I mean the Times Music has been there and been doing it. I've also seen jungly music coming up. Then you have Bhojpuri being focused.
Yes.
Then there is
Yeah.
FFs coming up. How do these segments add to the overall evolution of the industry, I must say, or overall, syncing the industry together and coming out of the bear market that you said that we are going through right now?
See, firstly, there's nothing called regional music, okay? I think it would be a fallacy to call just आप दूसरी भाषा बोलते हो इसके लिए आप रीजनल हो गए. Correct? That has no meaning in my life, and I don't look at it like that. I don't think our company looks at it like that, because by that logic we should have been bigger than the whole industry put together, because we started doing regional many years back. Because that time there was no choice, there was no budgets. We are one of the largest players in the Bengal market. We've been in the South market for a long time. Does that mean we have one of the largest market shares in Punjab, right? Does that mean our revenue is 2,000 crores? No, right? So there is nothing called regional. The sheer size of the population itself, the sheer surface area on which we are all playing as an individual plate of languages, right, is big enough to call it national.
Hmm.
That's it. It's as simple as that. So we should not call it regional. Like in the United States, pop is pop music. And then there is a genre of music. We just have languages. There's nothing regional about it. It's pop music in Bhojpuri. It's pop music in Haryanvi. It's pop music in Punjabi. That's it. There's nothing called Bhojpuri music, right? There's nothing called Haryanvi. The Thet Haryanvi, the Thet, those are all nuances
Right.
between folk upwards, between the language. But effectively, what people are consuming is popular music, which is pop. It doesn't have to be some cool looking dude, talking in a twang, right?
Yeah.
So that is the first thing to get right. The second thing to get right, this concept of regional is a boring old story. Correct? I think we're all washing our hands of it, because the Indian music industry has, there are yet bigger success stories yet to happen, Vishwa. So the last 10 years, it's been regional. Every language has its own trajectory. Now you come to who plays where. In my opinion, right, and it's like India, right? I mean, today, and Arijit Singh is the world's largest streamed artist, right? Does that mean he's bigger than Taylor Swift? No. It is just by sheer populace of non-resident Indians and
Correct.
Indians,
Correct.
sheer size of population, he's bigger, right?
Yeah.
It's consumption. Does that mean the stardom, the ability to generate that level of fandom, that level of capital, that whatever else it is, influence that many lives? No, because today, if because the association is so deeply with film, that the solo career would be rather different, right?
Yeah.
And likewise, I think for us, we have to be very cognizant that our regionality of language or the size of language is not going to turn the music market along. We are living, the reason that we are in a bear market is the last 10 years, we have grown on the back of YouTube. Languages have grown on the back of YouTube. YouTube has grown on the back of free geo SIMs and free geo phones that went out when this went into middle India and tier 3, tier 4 towns. So everybody saw ship rocket growths, right? Like
Yeah.
a very crazy sort of axis going up. And that growth obviously has to stable down. I mean, Jio started charging people today. They don't need to give it out free. YouTube has stabilized. YouTube has moved to a connected TV marketplace. They're dominating television. YouTube is not dependent on mobile anymore. That also leads to that conclusion that everybody's growth will no longer be like this, it'll be like this. So our revenues and our thing have nothing to do with regional. It has a lot to do with the platforms and consumption habits of people, right? So I always say we are in the audience business. We are not in the music business. We're in an audience business through the medium of music and the creativity that comes in. If you look at it from that lens and framework, you tend to understand two things. Till the consumer pays, this is a dog eat dog and a fool eat fool world. which is the reason that after 7, 8 years of growth, you come into a bear market, right? It just not just the market cycle. So we need to be very cognizant that unless subscriptions happen, unless the talent is mature enough to drive their fans to pay for them, this is a lost cause, right? Number two is markets start flaring up when fans and superstardom comes in. And when
Hmm.
fans pay for ticket prices, fans pay for subscription, fans pay for merchandising, right? I believe that we are at that pivotal point today where everybody is willing and happy to cooperate with each other to build that ecosystem, right?
Correct.
But where is that consumption going to happen? That consumption is not going to happen in tier three and tier four towns because of propensity, because of PPP ratios. It is purchase price parity is a very different concept, an economic concept. It got nothing to do with music. But
Hmm.
those ratios still apply when you want to spend the next piece of money on a leisure activity and not a necessity or a
Agree.
utility activity.
Yeah.
Number two is your apex is the top of the pyramid, which is tier one, at best tier two, top sort of 0.1% of the population that is going to start paying for subscription. Are they the ones listening to regional music? No. So there itself, we got a dichotomy. Who's going to pay for what? And
Yeah.
repeatedly for that, as opposed to who's consuming that what because it's free. So one is choice, payment of choice. Second is it's free, may as well listen to it, and it's lean out behavior. पीछे लगा के रख दिया, you played it in the background. It's got nothing to do with fandom and artists, some level of consumption. So I believe that our challenge going ahead, and the same challenge applies to artists, is finding out who's your audience and being very clued on to that audience, right? So, in my opinion, there are only three things. One is film music. Second is non-film music, which is defined as the same sound of Bollywood with except that it's not in a film,
Yeah.
right? And then there is pop music. Pop music is not non-film music, right? Those three, where the rubber will meet the road, is when people start paying for pop music, right? Because film
Correct.
music has become a commodity. Why should anybody pay for it? You're getting it free everywhere.
Yeah.
But with pop music, you pay for artists, you build legions, you build fans.
So look, if I try to, in my own sense, put this together as somebody from the outside, so I see an
As
artist
much as cider.
as much as an insider. So I see an artist, I see its fandom, fan base, and I see where and how this two pieces collide to generate commerce in a
Yeah.
nutshell. In this respect, I also understand that Times Music is also trying to build artists through its artist management division. When these three pieces are put together, or these three pieces are supposed to be, brought together, how does Times Music's artist management is, kind of building this up for A, for Times Music, and A, for betterment of the industry overall?
Vishwa, the thing is that, it's the concept of a flywheel. I think it's not any genius on our part. I think everyone's trying to build that in our own way. But I'll speak about what we're doing at Times Music. I think for us, that Times Music as a company remains the mothership. It holds the Speed Records relationship, it holds our catalog, it holds our distribution relationships, so on and so forth. And for Times Music, we've been a shapeshifter company over the years. Started off with spiritual music, possibly the earliest of independent music has always gone through us from Indian Ocean back in the day down to middle to Papon's first album, Farid Court's first album, Achin's first album. All of these guys were the ones we bet on many years back earlier, right? Some were too early, some were found success much later. So that is that wave. Then there was the remix wave. Then Punjab we ignited in 2016 when we did our deal with Speed Records, and that created what is known as a modern, wider Punjab industry today. And I think the Punjab will also eventually crash. It goes through a cycle like the rest of them are. And then, then there was the South phase, right? Where the last couple of years, our film music label, Jungly Music, has been significantly active. Films like Welcome to the Jungle, which is the third installment of Welcome coming out with Feroz Nadedwala, Akshay, and the rest of that crew. We possibly did close to about 42 odd films in the south between Telugu and Tamil. So then our huge change southern. So there's a lot of changes that we keep seeing, and we had FFS. which was a cutting edge new talent business that we are re-evaluating from a business model perspective, right? And over the last 2 years, we began Times Music Brands that offers a little different a different thing as an agency. It's not part of the mothership Times Music. It's a separate creative agency within. But again, the charter of that agency is to talk audiences, right? And a bit about that perhaps later. But the management piece that you're asking, we actually began management 6 years back, and we were very quiet about it. We don't like tom-tomming every single label. We don't like tom-tomming charts. I mean, that's stupid. Every single day everybody's tom-tomming the same chart. Like I can't understand. It's bizarre. Spotify has a bunch of charts. Instagram has a bunch of charts. I mean, honestly, I think even my parents will have their own bunches of charts, and hopefully, then some stage my driver will have his own charts, right? So this chart thing is foolish at the moment, and hopefully, when all of us at the IMI put together our own chart, that'll be the defining chart of the industry, not a third-party chart. But having said that, we realized one thing: 6, 7 years back when we started off, we signed Didar Kaur, who's phenomenal, possibly one of our most timeless voices, in my opinion. And it's with that belief that we signed Didar. And 6, 7 years back, we waited and patiently developed her to a point where today she's a different person, different human being from when we signed her. She's a different level of artist today, possibly one of the best performers I've seen. She just played at the NMACC, played at Bollywood Music Festival. She played at the YouTube thing and All About Music. So there's bunches of shows planned, right? We have an English singer-songwriter called Arya, who's again, there are bands and there are bands, and they all look like they're copying each other. And Arya is very, very unique in that sense. And there's Sanjana Devrajan that we work with. There's also we co-work with the Nandi sisters, not on the shows, but to manage their musical career. And there's also our latest signing, Kuwar, who I mentioned some time back, who's really, he's a pop star, more, or rather, that's the lineage. We're not trying to call him a Punjab, put a wrapper of Punjabi around him just because that
Yeah.
happens to be his home language, right? So all of these pieces, the way we see it is that each artist, we wear a management hat, not an agency hat. We do not wish to keep them desperately locked into a record label. We encourage our artists, we pitch them actively to other record labels, to other films. It doesn't matter. We're a different side of the same coin when it comes to artists that we manage. So today, Didar would record with a Z Music, she's recorded with T Series, she's recorded with Tips, a whole bunch of people. So management is a different business for us. We see it as a business unit, right? The second thing is because we've started as a business unit and because we own a record label and music publishing and the brand's business, we also have everything else first so that we don't necessarily have to keep pitching our artists for work. We already give them a lot of work that
Yeah.
comes. So everything that a management company will strive the ecosystem to build, we already have that. We do that for a living. Now, how this will regurgitate is, let's say in the case of let's say a Didar or a Kuwar, the amount of film work we do will help us put them into films. And one route is that. With people like Sanjana Arya, people like Nandi Sister. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. You know that we are co-owned by an American firm called Primary Wave, which manages over $5.2 billion worth of assets of the world's biggest stars, legacy stars, right? That's all of America's elite,
Yeah.
which also means that we end up bringing in a lot of opportunities for our managed artists in the West. So to rather not use that word called collaborations that everyone's using this, today we are looking at it's not necessary that the artists that we manage are like the next level of an Ed Sheeran. In my opinion, somebody who breaks it in the West will break it in the language that the West understands. It's foolish to think just because you sing in Hindi and you got brown skin, the West is just waiting for you exotically, right? So towards that extent, I think an English artist has a better scope of breaking out than somebody singing in Hindi. I'm saying a true crossover, right? Not some collab or talking to diaspora only. The second part is because we have one of the largest sync divisions in the world of music. That's what Primary Wave does. It picks up name rights, image rights, estate rights, the publishing. We are able to monetize this differently. So the scope of a lot of talent that works with us to work with them and the artist whose estates Primary Wave owns is significant. And there is a lot going on today with particularly with Didar. particularly with Arya and particularly with Kuwar. On the side, sometime back, we had flown in DJ White Shadow, Paul Blair, and Anthony Watts. Paul works with Lady Gaga very frequently, and Anthony Watts writes some of the biggest Korean hits there are, works with Pitbull. And we'd locked them into a studio, and we've got a few songs that different people are using in different ways. So the way we see at management is like a flywheel. There's a relationship with primary wave to work with the Western markets, and you should I'd encourage your listeners and viewers and yourself to go look up what all we do there with the icons of the world, and how we will use our artists to enhance that and vice versa. The second is the relationship with artists that are suitable in the film world via jungly music that will come in. And the third relationship is at the Times Music scale, which effectively works the same artists through concerts, brand endorsements, and things. So it's a flywheel that we are trying to create in a way where the artists are bound only to us as management, not for everything else. So we are unlocking an opportunity that goes beyond Times Music for the artists.
Fair enough. You mentioned primary wave, and there has been a JV between Times Music and Primary Wave, where the areas of brands collaboration is being explored in a big way. This year, some of the brand collaborations did happen, and I think 2026 is something that you would be working on that a bit more, in a much more aggressive manner also. What How do you see brand collaborations happening with music, and what is the scope that a the industry can create a better shape of brand collaborations with artists, and b what Times Music and Primary Wave is looking to achieve in 2026?
At Primary Wave, right? They're not a record label and traditional publisher where they handle admin, right? You have this over 200, 250 of the world's biggest estates are co-owned, co-managed, worked with them. We work with everyone from a Whitney Houston to a Bob Marley to Guns N' Roses to Def Leppard to you name it. I mean, it's an endless list. So it opens up a plethora of world, right, for brands. Number two, this the world goes actually beyond brands. It goes into experiences, whether it's live, whether it's AI, whether it's AR, VR experiences, which are, if you look at what we've done with Bob Marley in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay, it's a 30,000 square feet Bob Marley Hope Road experience with, with James Brown. There is his estate that's been built up like Graceland. It's a ticketed thing. People can visit, right? With the Prince with the Prince estate, it's a grand scale type with Airbnb, right? For people to go through Paisley Park. So with Whitney Houston, there's the movies, there's well over 30, 40 documentaries. Those include from Boy George to James Brown, Whitney Houston, you name it, right? So their world and color and scope is way beyond what even the global majors can think of achieving, right? Because of the kind of rights and scale and innovation involved. We, at our national level here, we're trying to ensure that when we go to the brands, look, I mean, there are multiple ways to skin this brand's game. At the bottom of it is the usage of sync, which is audiovisual. The stack on top is a stack of somebody pitching their artist or somebody pitching a live show or somebody pitching some song or there's somebody pitching an audiovisual, right? Then there is a stack of real estate, which is basically the videos. If you're rolling out 20, 30 videos a week, that real estate is the surface area is so massive that the opportunity for brands to be ingrained in there is large. And then there is this strange Indian term called IP, right? It's like, you step out of India, nobody understands IP except for the word copyright. But let's call them the big ideas, like the moonshot ideas. Those really are the ones that are the big ticket items, right? Something you create over and over. Now, what happens is the way we see between these four stacks is the top three, the below three stacks are really where everybody is playing and competing with each other. Some win, some lose. But today, what has happened is the sophistication required on both the brand's end and us as creative agencies misses because of one word, which is the simple act of creative out of the box thinking. Because in India, we live in a fragmented world. It's easier in the West to put some things together. But number two, the brands eventually are graduating from a television radio experience into a live experience. And now the surface area has moved into a influencer creator. And that creator influencer is a spray and pray approach. Correct? It would be a fallacy to say that anything outside of the top 15 to 20% influencers are measurable. They're not, right? It
Fair enough.
is great for the platforms to encourage the world of creators because people want to see it, people want to keep scrolling. It also disassociates a platform from the existing talent because they're their own, but you can't measure this stuff at all. So what you're seeing is a brand that is doing a spray and pray. The agency or the label or the music industry knows no better. So you've got like a dog eat dog. But when is the last success story that you could measure from a brand, right? I mean, an influencer's own brand, let's say Kusha Kapila's company underneath is doing 150 crores plus in a year, right? When's the last time you realized that because of a certain act or a certain campaign, a brand's sales have double, triple, enough to
Yeah,
warrant a public announcement, right?
fair enough.
So a lot of good work is happening, but I think the scale of work is limited to the buffet level style. We need to move this to a la carte, which is why I say that the our agency is in the audience's business. It's not necessarily only saying, here's my buffet of offerings. It's as good or bad as 20 other people are doing that. Why don't you pick me one, right? We're taking a little different approach to it. Happy to chat with you about that approach separately when we fructify, when there are actual case studies that I can demonstrate with numbers around it, right? But those are the kind of things that primary wave is good at. Those are the kind of things that our teams are being trained to relook at when we approach brands. That, like I said, there are different stacks to it, and each stacks requires a different approach, right? The surface area of videos, visual content, the surface area below that of sync opportunities between advertising and film, the area above that of stuff. And look, some of these are concepts, some may be possible, some may not, right? Like the Indian ecosystem, if you use some kind of talent, you're 90% they would not have their rights, right? Or if you have their rights, you would not have their non-image rights. And I think it goes back to what I told you earlier, is we have a fragmented industry. Everybody sells upfront. So everybody's to blame for this. The record labels are to blame to encourage paying people upfront. The artists, of course, they are to blame too, right? There's no artist on earth who sits there and says, you know what, I'd love to trust you. You're putting some money into your career. Don't pay me upfront. And that's the thing that we faced with FFS, that a lot of, kids that we were giving a chance for the first time are also saying, Paisa de do. And I realized that it's an industry-wide disease that we need to correct, right? We need to move to a sharing ecosystem. So when we say we are building things at scale, when we are building these properties with brands, when we are building personalities, we need to ensure that the system is in place before that caliber of brand activity starts building up.
Fair
You
enough.
know.
I think I would I would really really want to agree with this, and something that I have been also kind of talking to a lot of artists is, there is this whole concept of performing in festivals, performing in concerts which are you are paid upfront and you have to just go and perform. Ticket sales is somebody else's problem. I would rather want to see where an artist comes and collaborates and says that, okay, let's say you are putting in money for sound. I'll partner with you to create this concert or a show. Let's sell the tickets and let's partner in the business that we generate, and let's see where we achieve. And I think when we are able to create that kind of acceptance, that's when
Yeah,
possibly the real commerce of the industry, of at least the live economy, will also start showing up, apart from sponsorships, etc., etc.
absolutely. It's a ecosystem like any other industry, like tech, like UPI, like retail, like FMCG.
Yeah.
It's only in music that it's sadly a tiny size industry with overpaid and overhyped things. And we need to bring that down to an industry level to understand mathematics, commerce, along with the art of creativity, most certainly. Which is why our approach to brands is really far unique than most people I've seen. And I'm not saying that because I sit in the CEO's chair at Times Music. I say that because if you don't think audience, you're really lost the plot, right? If
Yeah.
if you don't think that, and you should not be afraid of bringing that to the brand, because the brand's role is to be able to, through advertising a brand, influence saliencies that lead to sales,
Right.
right? Even the art of branding something ought to create eventual output is has to be money and sales. And if that is not aligned, we're a very misaligned industry, which is why if you look at a balance sheet of a company, you'd see that the income that comes today from brands is relative in my stack, if you remember, to the last two columns, the surface area columns.
Yeah.
It is very less on the higher. Of course, things are increasing. There are younger and brighter brand managers coming in who are willing to take risks, who understand that audiences are fragmented. And some of these guys, I believe, will succeed because they will look at artists as personalities as opposed to looking at a quick fix or saying something. So, yeah.
We are stepping into 2026. What is Times
No,
Music
no,
gearing up
no.
for 2026?
Look, I'd love to throw like, I would love to throw big words like globalization. I would love to throw big words like collaboration. I would love to throw bro breaking artists abroad. I would love to throw what regional is kicking it, man. I would love to throw. I bought some ticketing company, I bought some big company. I think all that is hogwash to anything. I think the only thing we are looking forward to is really scaling up our business with the ways and means that I described to you earlier on this interview. Anything part outside of that is not our focus, not our intelligence. I think we're in a phenomenal flywheel. Let's just say that a bear market is the single largest opportunity that you can have in any business, leave alone the music business, right? If you do not grab that opportunity to recreate your business from ground up,
Yeah,
right? Looking forward with the realities that there is music and there is business, and hence it is called a music business, right? Um, we look at it from that perspective that our twin engines of growth are going to be our brands business and our management business. We no longer wish to be squeezed between few paise and something coming in from streaming and dependencies on YouTube. The music ecosystem as a whole needs to grow beyond that. And aided with our partnership, global partnership, and investment with Primary Wave, we're actually heading in that direction. That's all. We just honestly only look forward to executing over anything else.
amazing. At some point, whenever I could get a slot from you again, I would like to discuss on three more things that I have in my mind. First, of course, being AI, because this is a topic in itself which requires possibly about 15, 20 minutes of complete discussion of what is happening there, how things are shaping up, what are the challenges, how are they being addressed, etc., etc. But
And
as of now, I think for today, I would like to thank you for the time taken out, and we wish to see more of interactions happening with Times Music and yourself as we go ahead in 2026. Thank you,